Good afternoon, everybody. How's everybody doing today? Everybody having a good time at London Comic Con 2017? Right on, right on. So we got a special Q&A for you. If anybody grew up with the class of 1992 from Degrassi, yes, we've got some of the alumni here today. We got Joey, Snake, Caitlin, and Tessa, and they're going to be here to answer questions and tell you some awesome stories. I was able to talk to them last night, and they're really looking forward to doing this panel. Let me introduce myself. I'm Greg Silverscreen Sheen from the radio show Pop Cultured. That's on Saturdays at 5 on CJBK 1290 News Talk. So it's pretty much everything that's in this building we talk about on that radio show. So make sure you tune in. Okay, so let's, we're just waiting on them. They're a little, I think they might be late for class. I'm not sure. We're good to go? They're here? All right. There we go. Everybody remembers this song. Let's get them out here. Caitlin, Tessa, Snake, Joey, also known as Pat, Stacie, Kirsten, and Stefan. Awesome, all right. So, guys and gals, welcome to London Comic Con. Oh, can we get mic 2 on? Sure, I'll take a chair. All right, so let's get things started, shall we? Because all these people are here to see you. Hi, everybody. And they got lots of questions for you. Oh, here we go. Oh, the mute button. Sorry.
The mute button was on.
So to get things started, this is a new thing over the last couple of years. This Degrassi tour that you are doing. This is awesome. Getting some of the alumni together, and I'm excited. This is very surreal to me because I grew up watching Degrassi, actually the kids at the Degrassi Street, Degrassi Junior High, Degrassi High, and then of course School's Out. Wow, what a surprise that TV movie was. Wow. Good though. Yes, it was. It wasn't the happiest thing, but you know, that was the great thing about Degrassi, is that it was so real. It was probably based on stories of people you knew, or this happened, and that was the thing. And in grade 7, we watched Degrassi Junior High and social studies. That was part of our curriculum. So, and of course, I was hooked from there. You know, like okay. So, but this is awesome that you're here, and yeah, tell us how the tour got started.
All right, hey everyone. Thanks for coming out and joining our Q&A. You know, I've been appearing at comic conventions for the past 5 years. I got heavily back into collecting comics about 5 years ago, and whenever I appeared by myself, I always got a lot of love back and forth from fans, and it was always a treat to come and meet you guys. And the one thing that kept popping up was how's Snake, how's Caitlin, whatever happened to, you know, Wheels and Tessa Campanelli and all that kind of stuff. So late last year, I reached out to my fellow castmates and I said, would you guys have any interest in doing a bit of a reunion tour, because it was the 25th anniversary of School's Out, the movie. And it just so happened that my friends were into it and available, and we're so blessed to be able to go across Canada this year and meet all of you face to face, because I feel like for some of you, you felt like you kind of went to high school with us, right? This is a bit of a reunion for you guys as well. But it's just been a wonderful experience to hear your stories and to hear your feedback about what the show meant to you. And we feel truly blessed that we could do this as a group and be here today.
Yeah, no, I think Pat made when Pat actually approached us about doing sort of a tour, when he said that he really wanted Kirsty, Tessa Campanelli to come on the tour, I think I was like, I'm sold, because that's, I think, such a big part of Degrassi that a lot of people, you know, she's a fantastic, like, iconic character, and I thought that would be really fun. Yeah, Stacie's good too, but and I'm great. But no, but that I thought this would be such a foursome to like come and like hang out together and do like we've been having so much fun. And the craziest thing is that Pat and I went for a beer and we went and talked about possibly doing this, and we realized only after the conversation we hadn't seen each other in 10 years. And we didn't realize that. It was so weird. And then I see these two, and it's the exact same thing. I hadn't seen Kirsten even longer.
Longer with Kirsten.
And it was hysterical how we just went back to being exactly who we were years ago. It's to be on Degrassi, I think it's sort of like a family affair a little bit. Little shout out to JC Hunter, who's here today. JC's a local, but she was on Degrassi too. But we're having such a blast, and it's super cool. We'll shout out. We're gonna shout out again. Yeah.
We open.
Yeah, absolutely. This is about you guys too. So if you have any questions that you want to ask the cast of Degrassi High, by all means, I'm just going to pass the mic down. There is no, it's just the one mic apparently. So if anybody wants to ask a question, who wants to break the ice? Who's got a question? Okay, you know what? Come on up. It's gonna. We'll. Oh, okay. Oh, I got a little one. I wish. You know what? Let me switch mics here.
We can hear you.
Scream it.
Do we keep any of our props?
I actually found my, before when Pat started talking about this, I went to my parents' place and I found my original Snakes Is It Remedy shirt in my parents' basement. And I actually brought it to a couple Comic-Cons, and then my girlfriend started wearing it, and I was like, you can't do that. You're gonna ruin it. I also found my, I don't know if you remember Kiss Me Steph, which was the very first episode of Degrassi Junior High, where I'm like, my name is Snake, make no mistake, and I have a snake jacket that's like his swim jacket, it's blue, found that as well. It's so much, I found so much garbage at my parents' house, it's amazing.
Stacie, you have something that you kept that you gave away.
Kaylin had an Epic Alert bracelet, a medic alert bracelet, and I had a couple in case one got lost, and one magically made its way home with me after the show. I think I ended up giving that one to Kevin Smith actually, because he's, as a lot of people know, he's a huge fan of Degrassi, so that was my little memento for him. That's the only thing I took.
Kirsty, did you keep the yellow dress?
The yellow dress? Yeah. I can't think. I mean, I have a sweater that often when we wrapped, we were given certain gifts at the end of seasons. And one of them was a sweater, and I still have it. It sits in my closet. It's a purple and blue cardigan that says DJH across the front. So I do still have that.
Does anybody want to come up and ask a question, or do you want to yell it? We'll try our best. Anybody else got a question? Come on. There you go.
You are all family to us,
Thank you very much.
and when people come up to you, perhaps asking advice on their own lives, would you have different advice for them as yourself and as your character?
That's a great question, because with every fan that we meet, a fan of the show, we realize instantly if they're looking at us as our characters or if they're looking at us as actors that played the characters on Degrassi. And I think we go out of our way to always make sure that any fan that meets us gets to walk away with a memory that was suited for them. And a lot of the times they come to us in the past and have asked us for advice, and obviously we're not therapists, we weren't trained guidance counselors. But today when we meet fans, it's almost like they just want to say thank you for being there at a time in their life when they felt awkward, insecure.
We get a lot of people that come up and, we get a lot of people that come up and thank us for a specific episode that we can't really take responsibility for because we have these amazing writers who are writing for us. And we were the age that people were going through these things. It always brings a tear to our eyes when we hear these stories. And it's not, you don't have to have had a bad experience to watch Degrassi, but the amount of times where we've had people come up and tell us how it sort of made a difference and they didn't feel so alone is ridiculously heartwarming. It's really
And that's why these cons are so great, because this is where we hear the stories. We get to meet you face to face and have great chats, and you tell us how potentially we helped and how you helped us by watching the show. and etc. So that's why this is such a great opportunity for both us and you. So you say we're your family, but likewise.
I think a lot of us actually kind of grew up together, right? Because we were young when we started the show. And a lot of the episodes, some of the episodes, not all of them, were about things that we might have been going through as well as teenagers at that age. So, yeah, now in retrospect, we could give more advice, hopefully. But again, yeah, we're not therapists. I absolutely love hearing people's stories about how maybe the show helps them deal with something particular that the show is dealing with. It means a lot to us as well.
I think we all felt like a little bit of a freak sometimes. You know, going to school, we felt like we were a little bit different than everybody. And I think with the show, because we had so many different characters, so many unique characters, there was always somebody that you could relate to, or this person could relate to, that was different. Or, you know, you liked Joey because you knew a Joey growing up. And I think that's what made you emotionally attached to this show. But the storylines were what kept you coming back. Because the Spike storyline with the teen pregnancy, that lasted the entire run of the series, like 5 seasons. And we really got to understand her as a person and what she went through. You know, we always tried to be funny as well whenever it was fitting. But I think the show was just story-driven, character-driven, and I think you guys appreciated the honesty of the show as opposed to being talked down to. We let you guys make up your own minds about how you wanted to live your life.
I can't tell you how many times, though, people come up to us, like, we're walking down the street, they're like, hey, buddy, how's Rick? It's like, I'm sorry? It's like, you know, we went to high school together, and they think we've gone to high school together, and it takes them a second, they're like, no, you're on that show. Okay, all right. It's like, understandably, though, because you're having that experience, if you're watching the show every week, 10 years go by, they're like, yeah, I went to school with Snake. Yeah.
I get that sometimes too. They'll be like, wait a second, I know you from somewhere. Did you go to, and sometimes I'll cut to the chase and I'll just say, like, oh, Degrassi. And of course, the one time I did that, the lady was like, no. And I felt like a complete idiot, so I never assume anymore.
Yeah.
I will never, ever assume.
There's a gentleman over there that had their hand up. Yes, sir.
You're gonna have to, sorry.
His question was, what's the difference between playing like the kid or the teenage versions of your characters opposed to the adult versions of your characters?
Go ahead, Stace.
Oh, that's an excellent question. No one's ever asked that before. The difference, you know what? It felt really comfortable, first of all, coming back as an older version. I'd say it was a lot easier because I felt like our characters were now like a lot more together. We didn't have as many, you know, issues. Now we were kind of like the adults of the, well, we were the adults of the show.
We survived
so we were
being
more there to be
teenagers,
kind of like mentor characters for the new generation. So which actually made it, I think, it was interesting. It's interesting to change, and I actually enjoyed it. I liked the challenge of actually being the adult for a change, but it was a bit trippy at first. I'll say it was really weird, and it made me feel rather old. I won't lie. But it was a nice challenge. Yeah, exactly. It was a nice evolution of the characters. So.
Was anybody else disappointed that Joey and Caitlin didn't end up together at the end?
I wasn't. I was fine with it. I thought you guys had zero chemistry.
Yeah. It wasn't my call. Sorry.
What was it like to grow up on a show? To deal with the topics? I think that we were really young and not very experienced actors. And even on the new generations of Degrassi, all the way up to the next class version of it, you as a young actor want kind of the best storyline. So I always like to say this. It almost sounds inappropriate, but I've seen times where our young cast, like the storyline comes where a character is dealing with being sexually assaulted or something terrible, and you want that storyline because it's your opportunity to show what you got. So I think we always were shocked, I think sometimes when we said we're gonna do that story, you know, we're gonna do a story, whether it be on the old show, like Dwayne becoming HIV positive. I'm sure that Darren really loved having that story. It was a real, it's a challenge. It means that you're gonna be center stage and having a chance to sort of show your interpretation of that story. You'd think you'd be uncomfortable with it, but I think most of the time you kind of want those opportunities to tell the scarier stories, you know?
They did a good job educating us before them too around certain topics and what it meant, especially when we all talk about the AIDS one being the big one, where it was pretty new at that time. I'm sure obviously it was around, but more talked about, and so there were people brought in that I believe actually had HIV, that were HIV positive, to talk to the characters that were going to directly deal with it. So there was a lot of education for us as well, I think, before we had to portray some of these stronger roles.
We all wanted to make sure we did the role justice. So, for example, when I had the epilepsy episode, I obviously wanted to know what I was doing, and I actually learned a lot from doing that. Because the last thing you want to do is as exciting as it is to have a meaty role, like in something that you can really hopefully have others learn from and create awareness. That's what the goal is. So you want to make sure, like we want to make sure that we're doing the role justice. So that's our challenge. But I think we all really enjoy getting the challenges to do that. So.
Hey, can you guys hear us okay from that end? Because it sounds muffled here a little bit, but if we have to slow down, let us know. Any other questions? Yes?
Yes. Stacie and I we got matching Wonder Woman tattoos. We did, because of the Comic-Con. We started
Ink by Smink over there for everybody who feels like they might want to get a tattoo tonight.
I don't know if you, yeah, sorry.
We're trying to get Stefan to get one.
Oh, it's not
He
gonna happen.
refuses, but Pat got a really great
Pat got
one
a really
from
nice
Will
tattoo.
yesterday.
I got Spider-Man because growing up as a kid, I was very shy, very awkward, and I read Spider-Man as a kid because I always imagined how it would be cool to be a superhero, a larger-than-life character, something bigger than who you really were in real life. And I think playing Joey Jeremiah for me was like being Spider-Man, and because I was a very shy, insecure kid growing up, and all these guys made me feel so much more confident. Obviously, playing a character like Joey Jeremiah, you start to gain that confidence as a kid, and I definitely wanted to be like Joey Jeremiah in real life, but if you knew me back then, you'd be surprised how shy and insecure I really was. So Spider-Man for me is the ultimate hero, and I wanted to honor him with that.
I got a full body snake tattoo. Pretty good work. I'm unhappy with a couple of things. I might get a full body Joey Jeremiah, I'm not sure yet, so.
I heard you were going to get a Zit Remedy tattoo with
Yeah.
Pat. You were going to get matching ones today.
Yeah, full back Zit Remedy
Three
tattoos
faces. Yeah.
with all the lyrics at the bottom and just one tear.
All the lyrics.
Just a tear.
One eye.
Pat, what was your most embarrassing moment on Degrassi?
There was a scene where Joey walks to the cafeteria naked at Degrassi High. I'm going to reenact it right now. Obviously, that was very awkward. Again, I was still shy back in those days, and they said, you know, Pat, we'd like your character to do something pretty bold to make enough money to buy his first car. We believe Joey would go through these lengths to get the money, and this is it. This is the story. And I was terrified. I did absolutely. Can you imagine being 17 years old, 18 years old, being asked to, you know, strip down in front of 50 of your closest friends? And you know, at the time, I was terrified. I'm glad I did it because it created a very memorable moment from the show. I ran to my parents and told them, you know, I didn't want to do it, and they basically made fun of me and said, "No, you're going to do it." And
So I basically lost that battle, and I'm glad I did it. But at the time, I was very, very scared and insecure. And the cast was great. They were warned ahead of time to be respectful and kind. It was the crew that was slapping me on the butt and making fun of me and trying to grab the hat and take it away. And you know, they were big kids themselves, the crew. We grew up with them as well, so they were like family. But the cast was fantastic. I don't know if you had any embarrassing moments.
That was my most embarrassing moment, watching you do that. I was completely humiliated. I don't know. I feel like...
I have a good one of Pat as well, actually.
Yeah.
When In School's Out, and if any of you have seen it or will go back and rewatch it, there's a really good blooper in it. So there's a time where Joey comes to Tessa's house, and they're on the couch doing perhaps what some teenagers might later in life do. And all of a sudden, my parents come home, Tessa's parents, so he jumps off the couch and we pull ourselves together, and he goes down the 3 flights of stairs. And we rehearsed it a few times, he goes down the stairs and out he goes. But in the actual take they kept, Pat hits the wall as he's going down, picture falls, he falls down the stairs, and my back is turned, and you can see me sort of, my shoulders moving, because I'm laughing hysterically, because it was not supposed to happen at all. And the director's yelling, roll camera, Tessa, turn! And I have to turn back to my parents and, you know, be shocked because they're home, and I almost got caught naked with my boyfriend. And it's pretty good, and they kept it. So when you watch School's Out, you'll see Joey falls down the stairs, and I'm sort of snickering like, hi, Mom and Dad, hi.
Yeah.
Like, so that was a good one.
The best part, though, is that scene was shot in my actual parents' house.
Yeah.
That art she knocked off the wall was my mother's art. And we didn't know this until we watched the show. And my mom was like, oh, that's why the frame is broken. Because half-naked Pat Mastroianni knocked it off the wall.
There's definite bloopers.
Well, we still have the art. I think we got rid of the couch after we saw that scene. I'm sorry.
Oh yes, so probably my most embarrassing moment was, there's an episode called Smokescreen, where I think Caitlin's trying to impress the character Rick. This was, I think, early junior high, and she ends up doing a rap over the PA system, and it's a really, really bad rap. It's about the environment, and Caitlin's not a rapper, I'm not a rapper, and it's really bad. I shouldn't even be telling you guys this because I don't want anyone to hear it. It's like horrible.
There's nothing better than environmental rap. Drake only does environmental rap.
Anything else?
When did you guys realize that the show was more than just a weekly audience and it became like a cult following?
When did we realize the show was bigger than a weekly thing, was sort of a cult following?
Yeah.
Problem?
I mean, I just remember going away to school after we finished Degrassi High. We shot Schools Out, and I think we all sort of thought, like, the show was already pretty big at that point for Canada. And I think that we were sort of like, this is sort of the end. We're not going to be, you know, Pat and I remember we would joke about, this is the end of Joey, this is the end of Snake, we're never going to see them again, this is it. You know, we're shooting those last scenes. And then I think we all sort of went our separate way for a summer, or for school. I remember coming back that summer, and the show had started to become something different. It was now every day after school at 5 o'clock. And what we thought was sort of dying away was actually becoming more popular than ever. By the time, you know, 10 years has gone by, it's still been on every day at 5 o'clock. And basically everyone's saying, I think we got to bring the show back because the following had grown so much based on Degrassi High and Degrassi Junior High. I mean, I'm ridiculously flattered that people recognize themselves in the show and want to watch the show and felt connected to it or made fun of it, whatever it is, you know. But I think that there's something to be said about the longevity of something like this. Reruns go a long way, let's say that. But I think we just started to recognize younger people still relating to the show now that we were in our 20s, and that was kind of shocking.
Did anybody ever watch Jonathan Torrance's show, Jonovision? He's here. Jono was brilliant in creating a 1-hour reunion special in 2000, and he brought a bunch of us back to talk about the show. And the response and the viewership of that particular special was kind of what spun the concept of bringing back Degrassi: The Next Generation, because they realized and our producers realized that there was still people craving this type of entertainment, craving these type of shows that tell stories. And you know, I give Jonathan Torrance a huge props when I say it was that reunion special on his show that helped bring Degrassi: The Next Generation to air on CTV. So I love the fact that a younger generation discovered the show, and now another young generation has discovered Stefan's version of Degrassi: The Next Class. So I think because of the honest storytelling, there's always going to be a generation that needs this type of programming.
I've got a question. With it being the 25th anniversary of School's Out, obviously you're used to the regular schedule and format to the TV show. Now, how are you guys pitched School's Out? Like, because it's a big difference between...
Back then, how were we?
Yeah, like we're gonna have a TV movie that's gonna have the F-bomb in it, and it's gonna be really risque. It's almost like the PG-13 version of Degrassi.
Well,
how are you?
The truth is, we were never pitched anything. They just said, this is what it is. I think we had one read-through of a version that no one was really crazy about. I think they saw in the read-through all kind of like, this feels really insular and small, and this is the end of the show. But I think it was just sort of like, they heard the cast talking about that. They came back with the next version that ended up being School's Out. They didn't ask for our permission to go crazier, but I think you have to keep one thing in mind also. This was 5 years later from like junior high, when we were 13-year-old, we're like, hey Narbo, hey Broomhead, where we were starting to grow up, and our audience was growing with us. So a lot of our audience was starting to go into the final years of high school, into university, and I think they thought they could take it. But trust me, no one knew. I mean, it's considered by far the most depressing end of a TV show ever.
It's a real downer.
Not much good came out of
It's
school.
basically saying, well, guys, those were the good years.
There was a wedding.
It's all over now. It's all downhill. And but I think, you know, as far as the F-bomb, I don't know if you know, but in the show, I say it first, and Stacie says it right after. I think I say Joey Jeremiah spends his summer dating Caitlin and effing Tessa Campanelli. Yes, and then, but we also did a version where it was like, boinging Tessa, you're boinging Tessa Campanelli. Like, so it could have been terrible. It's like, it might not have the edge, but it did air after, the second part of the 2-hour special aired after 9, I think, and you're allowed to use language after 9 on the CBC. So it was the first time they said the F-bomb, so, but I think we felt like this is the right kind of level of intensity for us. We were all 18 years old, we were feeling like young adults, and the show had to sort of express that. It's funny going back and watching junior high, because we're kids, you know, and we grew up, and I think our audience grew with us.
I think that was kind of the point. We had to show that we had grown up quite a lot, and they needed to end the show in a very memorable way, which I think they did. And yeah, the alternates to the F-bomb and whatever other bad words were used were just ridiculous at that point. Like it was not organic at all. So I'm glad they did at least put it in the time slot that they did, because of the subject matter too. It was definitely a lot more risque for sure than.
School's Out never aired in the States. And Pat and I actually went down to Austin, Texas for a screening.
Yeah, Stefan and I did a screening of School's Out about 10 years ago in Austin, Texas, and Americans didn't even know there was a movie called School's Out. So they had this 10-hour marathon where they played the greatest hits of Degrassi from junior high to high, and then a midnight showing of School's Out. And their minds were blown when they watched it. And literally, Stefan and I were in the back of the theater watching it with them, and all the women in the theater just kept turning around and cussing me out. Because how could you? And so it was a really amazing experience to be able to rewatch that movie with them. And then just recently, we had a screening of School's Out in Toronto where we had 600 people come out to the theater to watch it. We did a little bus tour during the day where we went to Degrassi Junior High, Degrassi High, and then we did the School's Out screening. So yeah, maybe we'll do it again next year. And if you want to come on a little pilgrimage with us, we'll do it again. But School's Out is definitely my favorite episode of Degrassi, and I hope it's something that you guys enjoy, because we enjoy doing it for you.
Any other questions out there? Okay, just go ahead.
This young lady on my left is too shy to ask. She asked me to ask you, would you do the Zip Remedy song?
Oh, funny.
The Zet. Oh, you almost made it.
Always get that. Their answer is yes.
We're terrible singers. I don't think I've ever held a guitar until like after Degrassi. I think it was the last time we did not play instruments. We didn't have
they
a
sing
drummer.
along.
We were a band for 4 years without a drummer.
Stop making excuses, Stefan, and sing.
They have to sing it with us.
Everybody has to join.
I don't believe her. You have to stand up and sing it then.
You guys started, I'll jump in, I promise.
Start it off. I'll jump in. I promise. Everybody wants something. They'll never give up. Everybody wants something. They'll take your money and never give up.
Thank you very much. It's always the most painful question when we do Q&As. Every time I die a little bit inside. So thank you.
It hurts.
It hurts.
How popular School's Out was? Was there ever talk about doing Degrassi College?
Was there ever talk about doing Degrassi College? I really think that the original show was supposed to just be junior high and high, and that sort of was the length of the show. Also, a lot of us were going to go away to school. Like, it was happening in real life, you know. I know on Next Generation, we tried following kids in college, and it didn't work. There was not as much interest in the college years. I think the truth is that Degrassi the school is a character unto itself. It's by far the shittiest school in the world. If you survive it, it's amazing. But it's also the home and the place where our characters are the safest. And so without Degrassi, it's a different animal. And it's kind of one of those things that you actually kind of have to be in that school to make this show work. That's where we're all trapped through our high school years, you know? And that's our prison, and we can either learn to love it or deny it. But when you leave the school, it kind of becomes a different animal. I just don't think that's what Degrassi is, you know?
So the question was, if you could be any other character that was on the show, who would you like to be?
Oh man, I always wanted to be the bad character. Like I wanted to be like Stephanie. I was jealous of Stephanie K at first. I actually auditioned for a character named Annie, who was supposed to be like the Spike character. I think Spike's probably the one that I really wanted to be. Yeah, she was pretty cool.
Yeah. You want to do Spike? Yeah.
I auditioned for Joey Jeremiah. I wanted that role so damn badly. And I was like, when we were auditioning, we had these individual auditions, and then if you got to the next level, there were several rounds of group auditions that went on. And I could tell by like the third day, the third audition, they were spending a lot of time with this Pat Mastroianni kid. And it was like, oh, well, I'm not on the show anymore, whatever. So it was either going to be, there were only two male characters that were written were Joey Jeremiah and Yick. And I don't think I had a very good chance of getting Yick. So, yeah, I really wanted to play Joey Jeremiah. It was such a fun character on the page. Pat is not Joey Jeremiah, but Pat killed playing Joey Jeremiah. It was so much fun. And, you know, they created Snake and Tessa along the way. Even Caitlin was not an original character, right? She came as time
Yeah, no,
progressed.
Caitlin evolved after a few episodes of Degrassi Junior High, because they actually wrote my original character was someone named Amanda. Totally different, very straight-laced. And of course, I wanted to play the opposite of that. And so then, yeah, as the writers took their time, they came up with a new character named Caitlin, and they decided, I think they liked the chemistry between Pat and myself, so they wrote us into that tempestuous love interest that never died.
I think I also would say Lucy, actually. Lucy Fernandez had a great, she was powerful, she was strong, she was the president, I really liked her character, actually. So I take it back. I changed my mind.
I want you to tell the story about how you got on the show, because I think that's hilarious. I make her tell this story every time we do a Q&A, because she was you guys when she came onto the show.
I was in an audience at the ROM, Royal Ontario Museum in Toronto, where I lived. Never done any acting. And I went to an autograph meet and greet session with some of the Degrassi cast. So I was in the audience, I had my autograph book all ready, and there was a question period. And my mom tells it a bit differently. I could add to this story, actually. She says I actually asked the question, I don't remember, from the crowd. I said, how did you guys get on the show? And if I wanted to do something like that, where would I even start? And so I guess one of the publicists at the time sort of saw me ask the question. When I came down to do autographs, she said, hey, have you ever done any acting before? And I said, nope. And she said, great, because they didn't want anyone that was polished as an actress or an actor. They wanted just regular kids to do a regular,
They wanted terrible actors. Is what she said.
So that was it. And we sent in my picture, and then we all did the same sort of thing from there. We had to go to sort of an on-screen audition. If they thought you had some talent there, then they brought you in to work with them for 2 weeks, where we had to, they sort of watched our every move, watched us mingle with each other to make sure that we were friendly kids and easy to get along with. And then we waited for that phone call, and when the phone call happened, and I'm sure, for all of us, it was really exciting to get the phone call. It was either a yes or a no, and that's it. So, yeah.
Tessa's one of my favorite, most interesting characters in my mind. If you think about where she started with like Scooter, and they're running around like, we found a flyer! It's like, we're teenage hijinks. And then she kind of turns into like, people hate Tessa so much because she broke up Joey and Caitlin. And it's not really fair. But to watch her go from like, I'm just a kid, I don't like to be crazy, to be like, you have no idea what you did to me, Joey, is kind of amazing. It's kind of amazing, but kudos to you though, because it is a really fun character to watch that character grow up.
Thank you. I loved it too.
Yes. She was asking if there's any kind of memorial for Neil that people can know about.
Not that you can know about. Unfortunately, the family has asked for privacy, which we have to respect. But when we all found out that Neil had passed away, the family created a tombstone saying, we'll never forget Neil Hope, but then in asterisk it says AKA Wheels. So I thought that was a really nice tribute for him. But I don't think the family wants it to become kind of like a fan shrine. So I don't think we even know where it is. Just
there's a Facebook tribute page, I believe, as well.
Yeah, there is a Facebook tribute page
set up
for Neil. And this is another way that for us, we get to tribute him because we talk about Schools Out, we talk about his contribution to that film, and his contribution for the entire legacy of Degrassi because he was there from the Kids of with Stacie when it first started. And it's a lovely way to remember him when we get to see him on camera and what he did by bringing the character to Wheels to life.
Or in a t-shirt. Someone's wearing a great t-shirt. Where is it? There it is. Great t-shirt of Neil.
Oh yeah, she's got to show the shirt,
dude. You gotta stand up, sir. It's pretty awesome. It's from Schools Out.
I think it was like, yeah.
Yeah.
We were so handsome. Oh yeah. Look at those men, young men.
Did you have a question?
He just wants to get naked Joey. It's like.
All right, well, we've pretty much run out of time because, time flies when you're having fun. But lastly, anywhere where these fine folks can find you at, like Facebook pages, anything that you're working on, anything that's happening, just quickly let them know and then they can reach you on the socials.
We have a social media page called Degrassi Tour on Facebook. And that's pretty easy to remember. And that's where fans can post pictures that they've taken today. We always love to see the photos that you take with us. You can find out about next appearances and things that we're working on. And hopefully down the road, we'll be able to do this with a much larger Degrassi cast. We want to do this with 10 or 12 cast members. I don't know when or where, but that's where you'd find out about it. We'd love to hear from you.
Season 4 of Degrassi Next Class is on Netflix right now. Sorry, I gotta plug it. Season 3 of Degrassi Next Class, if you get a chance, if you have not watched Next Class, I've had more people than any other season of the show come and say this is the closest to Degrassi Junior High. And I know that Linda Schuyler, when we were cutting the episodes of season 3, she's one of the creators of Degrassi, she was like, oh my God, we were cutting an episode, she was like, this feels like when Yick and Arthur were having wet dreams. I was like, I know, it feels that good, huh? And so it was like, it's one of those things where I think you might enjoy it, even though it's for a younger audience. It's still as hardcore as Degrassi ever was. Most people don't know it, but Degrassi's hardcore. But thank you so much. Sorry? Thank you guys for having us. We're having a blast so far. JC Hunter's in the audience!
JC Hunter, Amy. She played Amy. There she
Stand up,
is.
JC Hunter.
She was one of the irresponsible girls that knocked over the canoe in School's Out.
School's out.
Yes.
I had to go save her. Or you saved yourself, you were fine, right? But thank you again, everybody. We're having a blast at the Comic-Con, so thank you.
Yes, you guys rock. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome.
Come by our table.
Thank you,
chat with
Pat.
us.
And make sure that you go over to their table because they are doing photos and they got tons of cool stuff, t-shirts, pins, all that stuff. So go over there right after this and meet them in person because they're awesome, awesome people. So thank you very much for coming on and doing the Q&A. It's been a pleasure. All right, everybody put your hands together.